resignation, elopement of publicly raised funds, exposure of sweatshop, and the spread of migrant labor shortage have become the external manifestations of the labor price crisis. It seems that the crisis in factor prices has arrived early. Coal, electricity, and the prices of resource goods such as oil, gas, water, land, and production factors such as labor are becoming increasingly uncontrollable, forcing prices to enter a second round of breakthroughs. On the one hand, China's production factors are already low, with industrial electricity prices only accounting for 4% of developed countries such as Japan and Italy, urban water prices only accounting for of international water prices. Labor productivity equivalent 2% of the X, but wages only %. Globalization has inherent driving forces for domestic production factor prices to align. On the other hand, according to Citigroup's latest conservative estimate, the overall cost savings of industrial enterprises due to price distortions were approximately trillion yuan, accounting for nearly % of GDP. The cost of production factors is artificially suppressed. Not only does it not reflect the true cost, but also artificially overestimates profits. Some scholars estimate that domestic enterprises will unreasonably save at least % of production costs as a result, assuming that the enterprises themselves absorb % of this product. Prices will also increase by at least %. Therefore, the market's reconfirmation of production factor prices is an insurmountable barrier. In fact, if prices are distorted, they should be reformed. But the reform of the price mechanism is hesitant. Reform faces difficulties and the inability to rationalize prices. The essence of price crises reflects the crisis of reform. And the inability to promote reform lies in ideology. If there is a problem with ideology, it is a crisis of ideology. Our country is a country with several levels of civilization and several days of complex IT, which cannot be compared to other countries. However, with knowledge at its peak and a superficial grasp of complex situations, using classical Western theories and thinking and methods under agricultural civilization to respond will undoubtedly encounter bottlenecks, making reform difficult. Therefore, the ultimate solution to the price crisis lies in the renewal of ideas. It may be a necessary condition for emancipating the mind to subvert cognitive inertia and the old truth standards with the idea of post-industrialization or even financialization. Even if we can keep up with the times in our thinking, the path of institutional reform remains bumpy. Not to mention the resistance of some special interest groups to reform. The living pressure brought by global inflation alone has made it difficult to reconfirm the prices of production factors, let alone the fact that price reform is now facing two major forks. Firstly, price reform once again faces a fork in the market or administration. At that time, the marketization of consumer goods was radical. The one-step implementation led to severe inflation with CPI reaching %, and some major cities such as Beijing exceeding %. In the cut, in that price reform is not as simple as marketization. The shock therapy severely damaged economy of Russia is a clear proof. Today, if the price of resource goods is released at once, it is likely to repeat the price breakthrough of years. But price controls also distorts the market. For example, market coal plant power has made % of state-owned power enterprises lose money, and % of Shanxi power enterprises' capital chain may be broken or will lead to power shortage this summer. It can be seen that price marketization is still a major direction, but the market-oriented transformation from planned thinking cannot be achieved overnight, which often requires a process. Therefore, in the process of reform, it is necessary to adhere to the marketization of prices while maintaining social stability through administrative power. Undoubtedly, becoming the leader of left-ping the standard of right balance. Secondly, the direction of price reform has been determined, but the market-oriented approach faces a choice, which is to linearly follow the god painting or non-linear feeling stones crossing the river. In the SU, under the advocacy of price liberalization both domestically and internationally, the world believed that long pain is better than short pain. In a shortage economy, the feasibility of directly connecting prices through linear deduction not only failed to achieve price reform, but also triggered a wave of panic buying and hoarding, which taught profound lessons. But this attempt precisely proves that Western medicine cannot cure all diseases, and the linear approach is not suitable for China's atypical, high complexity, and multi-drop national conditions. The reason why we were able to overcome the dilemma of consumer goods reform back then was still due to the dual-track system that can simultaneously balance history and development. This non-linear innovation is a dual-track system on an incremental basis, gradually rewriting the price mechanism through price liberalization in the production field. In fact, this integration under the shortage economy has been undergoing twists and pains until the economy shifted from shortage to surplus and it was only then that it was natural and normal to connect. From this it can be seen that the feasible path for resource price reform is still a dual-track system. But this dual-track system is not the same as in the previous market deliberation, but punishment is not applicable to officials, which is not detrimental to the increasing trend of administrative monopoly. Objectively speaking, behind this phenomenon of slow and swift dual heaven, there is a change in the weather of reform, which means reform we have shifted from the field of ideology to a strategic layout at the level of interests. During the pro-reform period, the attention of various sectors of society was focused on the basic direction of society, such as whether the reform should be carried out, whether it was capitalist or socialist, etc. This also sparked two major reform debates in the early S and early S. Deng Xiaoping cleverly bypassed these ideological disputes and successfully opened up an era of development through his speeches on three treatises and Southern Expedition. In the post-reform period, reforms were constantly hijacked and internalized by interest groups. and people with rice in their hands began to let their buttocks determine their minds, setting various obstacles at the level of interests. As for the current regulation of capital finance and the rapid efforts of state-owned enterprises and state-owned enterprises, but the slow response to market construction and scientific coordination, this seemingly split phenomenon is the result of the distribution of interests. Take China Investment Corporation as an example. CIC has gathered a group of H-level officials from the Ministry of Finance, Huajin Corporation, the China Banking Regulatory Commission, and the National Development and Reform Commission. It is not difficult to infer from the identities of influential senior officials at the ministerial and deputy levels that CIC has actually concentrated the ideas and interests of a generation. The chairman was originally a reformist expert in the market economy known as one of the three swordsmen of economic system reform. But later, as the official ladder rose, he became obsessed with the effectiveness of state-owned and administrative monopolies. If it is said that this dual personality of front and back fracture is caused by the buttocks determining the brain, it is probably not too much. The duality of this personality is more evident in another reformist swordsman, the general manager of CIC. As one of the earliest sea turtles to land in China, he returned home from Wall Street in the S with the belly full of Western economics Inc. Similar remarks such as "what we want is a clean market and let the market manage the market" clearly indicates his market-oriented background. Due to his successful initiation of the establishment of the Chinese securities market, he also rose to prominence in his career. Afterwards, he also showed a similar fascination with the hands of the government. In terms of this issue, the leaders in relevant fields between China and the United States essentially belong to the same group of people. In fact, superstitious markets and superstitious state-owned enterprises belong to the same era. Experts and scholars mostly believe in the market, while officials, most people, are superstitious about the state. This generation of experts and scholars has been basically indoctrinated with classic Western economic theories advocating for the magical power of the invisible hand of the market and reducing government intervention. Among these scholars, the most typical is Wu Jinglian, who is C. Wu market, and Gao Gao. Xiqing and others were influenced by it. As for contemporary officials, they always believed in the power of the government, believed in cybernetics, and preferred to concentrate their efforts on major issues, which was also the main source of the lingering state-owned concept. Between these two, those scholarly officials who excel in learning and become officials, who have achieved the transition from being experts and scholars to officials, have experienced a personality split. They are both superstitious about the market and difficult to resist the temptation of state-owned enterprises, towering above the temple and guiding the country. To put it simply, they are using the market to gain benefits and administrative monopolies to profit from competition. In recent years, officials who have parachuted into state-owned Banks as bosses have used the name of shareholding and marketization to give rise to the phenomenon of millions of annual salaries, which is just a microcosm of it. As for market efficiency and government efficiency, whether in the entire history of economics or in the middle, who is higher or lower, there has been a long-standing debate in the process of market-oriented reform in China. Putting aside the linear thinking of either this or that, objectively speaking, the key to better and healthier reform lies in having or hedging these two efficiencies. From the perspective of value orientation, relevant departments want to have both market efficiency and government efficiency, and objectively, the great success of the Chinese economy in the past years also depends on the full combination of these two. However, in recent years, the frequency of hedging between the two sides has increased. Whether it is health care reform, housing reform, education reform, public utility reform, resource price reform, etc., it is either too market-oriented or the government's power is too strong, resulting in obvious negative consequences of hedging. The efficiency of the U.S. government is very high, and its glory comes from the combined force of plus generated by the superposition of two efficiencies. But it deceives other countries to give up regulation and only want a market economy. If Chinese reformers listen to their deceit, as long as the market does not want government efficiency, they will undoubtedly deceive. Economic civilization's lack of understanding of various economic phenomena, especially the abnormal operation in the financial field, has led to a lack of understanding of human knowledge systems. Reflection on the accumulation of human knowledge corresponds to the process of human civilization. While existing knowledge still remains in the summary and inference of past economic civilizations, so it is necessary to sort out human economic civilization and deduce the emergence and characteristics of new civilizations. The process of economic civilization is accompanied by the evolution of industries, and the earliest industry that emerged in humanity is agriculture. Animal husbandry predates agriculture industry, but animal husbandry has not been widely promoted. In a broad sense, animal husbandry belongs to agriculture, which corresponds to agricultural civilization. The basic elements of agricultural civilization are land and labor. Labor is the father of wealth, and land is the mother of wealth. Other forms of industry such as handicrafts, commerce, religion, and service industries are subordinate and even considered to not create value. The understanding of wealth is very singular, and the purpose of competition between people and countries is primitive wealth. Without different values competing with each other, conflicts caused by religion do not fall within the scope of economic civilization discussed in this article. Agricultural civilization has lasted for thousands of years, and its knowledge can be effective for thousands of years. It is reasonable to say that half of the analects of Confucius has conquered the world. The rapid advancement of the Industrial Revolution has brought humanity into a new civilization system, namely the stage of industrial civilization. Work industrial civilization is fundamentally different from agricultural civilization. The basic elements of industrial civilization are capital and value, which are exchanged for the purpose of production. The general equivalent of exchange is currency, early gold and silver coins, later paper currency. After the emergence of paper money, the currency form expanded, and inflation became the social and economic partner. Humanity has in a deeper understanding of wealth. There have also been huge differences in understanding, with one faction starting from human labor, holding high the banner of labor value, and deriving surplus value is defined as labor value wealth. Ricardo's value theory, Marx's labor axiology, Lenin's and Stalin's socialism theory. The other school directly launches from